Live Local Fridays. Guam's favorite, containing COVID. Let's go back to the phones where Vice Speaker Telena Nelson is on. Good morning, Vice Speaker.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Bree. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
We're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
How about you? Obviously, there's been a lot of rapidly evolving evolutions that have taken place since the last time we spoke.
Yeah, I think it took a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was so rapid, but we're trying to. We've been trying to figure out a way to meet the AG's interpretation of the law and to see how we could move forward with this double pay in its entirety, which our frontliners justly deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the peak of this pandemic, this state of emergency, we've asked these people to come and to help protect our lives and serve our community. And so since the beginning, we wrote a letter to implore the governor to ensure that these employees that are out there on the front lines, that are going into work, exposing themselves and exposing their families as well, that they be justly compensated. And so hopefully, this measure that Bill 357 introduces, that we introduced, proposes a way to give our frontliners, everyone, that responded, from GDOE, grab-and-go meals, to our nurses, and even the employees that worked in various government agencies that were called in, even though their agency was closed, and those whose agencies were opened and were required to come to work and risk exposure, that they be justly compensated to the full extent, to the extent that they justly deserve, which was every day that they came in and worked.
Mm-hmm.
We did try to pursue an avenue of compensatory time with double pay, but the reason why we did not move forward with that is because we were the people that were reaching out to us were saying that we work so many hours a year, and even the CTO that we make, we're not even able to utilize all of it because we're coming in six days a week or 7 days a week. And so we're trying to do this measure as an avenue to ensure that they get paid. And so these people, our frontliners, received hazardous pay. And so we were thinking, well, if all of these people received hazardous pay with the same mechanism, why not ensure that they receive their double pay with that mechanism that the hazardous pay was put out? So that's what we tried. That's what we intended to do. And with this bill, this is what we pushed forward. I don't understand anything less. Why would we give them some kind of half deal? I don't think it's a fair compensation. We call them heroes, but we don't treat them like that. We think that boosting their ego by calling them heroes makes them feel, essentially that's what they are, but we're not showing it with our actions. And so this is our bill 357 is a bill to justly do that, to show them that, no, we do believe you are heroes, and we want to show it with our actions.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Bill 357 is just cut and dry, just pay double time?
That's correct.
Okay.
Vice, hold on, let me interrupt here. Hey, good morning. We're KUAM FM, Agutni, Guam. It's 8 o'clock. Again, thank you for joining us on KUAM TV 11. This is the live feed of KUAM News' Takeover, Guam's favorite, containing COVID. On the line right now, Vice Speaker Telena Nelson, who's telling us about her Bill 357, which would pay double pay to essential frontliners.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct.
Have you had a chance, though, to look at Bill 359, or did anyone reach out to you, to the Speaker, or any of the other senators that were at this press conference yesterday?
I did have a chance to look at Bill 359, and
I'm sorry. Prior to the announcement, prior to the press conference. Okay.
Yes, the Speaker did inform us, and I responded to her Chief of Staff saying, this is not. I can't sign on to this. This will negate all the work that we tried to do to ensure that these people are paid fairly. and it's not something that I believe in, and I couldn't, I didn't want to move forward with it.
So your measure came first?
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's 357, 359.
We've been working on this measure since last week, and so it evolved to several different forms. We worked on I was trying to ask my colleagues to override Bill 326, but that was very, very difficult. I did get commitment from some of them, but then it just seemed like I was being stalled.
What were they saying, though, Senator Vice?
No, that they support the bill, but they support the bill, and they feel that they deserve the double pay. Senator Joseph Augustine was very supportive of me, and he supports the double pay. Some of my other colleagues were a little bit reluctant, and so I tried to find a compromise, and I was talking it over with my team, and I was reaching out to people and some of our nurses, and they're like, we make more CTO than we can utilize, even the law enforcement personnel. And we even thought, well, why don't we extend the CTO for the end of for the next fiscal year? Because if you don't use your CTO for that fiscal year, then you lose it.
Right.
And so we thought of an extension for the next fiscal year, and then they're like, well, we're working the same amount of hours the next year. And so we're like, okay, let's just try, looking at how everyone received their hazardous pay. Let's just try to do a mechanism in place to ensure that these people that receive their hazardous pay also get the double time pay, because the people that received hazardous pay are the people that evidently showed up for work. Mm-hmm. And so that's the route we took. And, I was trying to ask, a select few of my colleagues if they'd like to sign on, and they were reluctant to sign on, so I went ahead and submitted it on my own. Mm-hmm. But even in all fairness, right, everything is about timing, and so I was trying to get it in at a certain time and trying to explain what the bill is, and
so you're basically, we have the Speaker's bill, which is being championed by the administration. I mean, they even put it on the Joint Information Center release. That's weird. They've tacked that onto there. So, I mean, Vice, but your bill, it's not. So the Speaker's bill, it's something like half annual leave.
But it's capped,
right?
Right?
They can cash
the annual
out.
leave is
capped.
Right, yeah.
So you get 240 hours, right, of CTO. And if you would like the option to cash in half, you can cash in 120 hours. This is from my understanding of the bill. And so some people even work over 240 hours, perhaps a year. And so they're capping it at 240 hours. And if you want, you can cash in half. What we've been saying is, since the beginning this started, was, no, please ensure that they get the double time pay. The challenging part was we didn't anticipate this state of emergency to continue on for this long.
Right.
And so the concern was, well, when Bill 326, which covered the hazardous pay and requested the double time pay, was vetoed, there were various arguments that were, that entirely we didn't agree upon, and then the AG opined on the issue, and so we were thinking, okay, what's another way to approach this? Do we amend 8.406? And we're thinking, no, we don't want to do that because that's a current statute, and we could impact our FEMA request for support. And so we said, okay, let's just try a different measure. And so we kind of just took a step back and observed what was going on. And I said, you guys are paying them hazardous pay, and I'm thinking with the same executive order, requirements. So let's just institute that in the bill, and let's move forward and see how that measure goes. Now we're getting a lot of money in the CARES Act, And so, the state of Hawaii is also moving forward with the legislation to, kind of ensure that the CARES Act money is spent properly. And so there are various, last week we had a briefing by the executive branch on certain monies and where they're going. And so we're, just by basic calculations, it seems like there's a lot of money out there to be had. And, let's do what's right rather than, let's utilize this money to pay our heroes what they justly deserve, the sacrifices they've made, the risk that they've made, even
pay
the
them
risk that they
in money,
even for their family.
In money, right, Vice? That's what you're saying.
Well, in compensation in money, yes.
Right, yeah.
I had a
In
question.
pay.
Mhm. But in your bill,
But I don't want it to be like a greed-mongering thing, Like, I don't want this to turn ugly, because anything that deals with money, many times it turns very ugly.
Mhm.
And so I just want us to be cautious of that. I don't want it for us to, in a way, devalue the work that they've done by fighting about money. But I also want to advocate that they deserve this pay.
It is what it is, Vice. They deserve it. We pay people in money.
Yeah. In Bill 357, though, there's that provision for use of CARES Act funding to pay out the double pay. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, we put may use CARES Act money because in previous weeks we've heard from various leaders that you can't tell us how to use the CARES Act
you
money,
would be
right?
Overstepping your legislative authority.
When you say various leaders, you mean the governor of Guam had in her veto message. It said that it was an overreach for the legislature to tell her how to spend the CARES Act money.
Yeah. That was in the veto of Bill 333.
Right. So we put the recommendation as may use because we acknowledge that there's millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars being utilized in that program Salafi thing that they were doing.
Programan Salafi Zudani Tautau.
Yeah, thank you. That's like $20 million, right? But we've only seen like $7 million used. And then I believe Edward Byrne came on the line saying that, well, if you do double pay, it's $3 million per pay period. So I'm thinking, okay, let's say we do 7 pay periods. So 7 times 3 million is about $21 million. $21 million. So I'm like, I think there's $21 million to pay these people. And if we go break down the budget of the CARES Act, it shows that there's various things being utilized. Like in the U.S. Department of Treasury for the administration, there's payroll expenses listed at $29.152 million. And so I'm like, oh, maybe they can utilize some of that money.
I mean, Vice,
because we already appropriated this money to pay people their salaries.
Right.
Right. And so this money already is, that from the general fund is already spoken for. So there's several places that I would pull, but I wouldn't tell the governor how to do that. I would just recommend it.
What do you think she has the authority to just pay the double pay with the CARES Act, just straight away, no, legislation, no nothing?
She does. If she did it with the hazardous pay, she didn't need any legislation for that. So why wouldn't she be able to do it with the double pay?
Do you think this is a stalling tactic or anything? Because if you're right, if the governor has the authority to do it already, why do we need to jump through all these hoops and then kick this down to the legislature where, you got 15 different people with 15 different opinions and...
Well, it's always, I've observed that this term, it's always the legislature that tries to present avenues first, and then there's like a pulse taken on the community. And if that pulse in the community, whether it's right or wrong, and then it's discerned, it seems like either we get the backing of the administration or we don't.
Or they steal your idea. It's actually, it's like you guys come out with an idea, like you came out with a double pay, And then everybody on the island was talking about the double pay because it is what it is. If you're a frontline essential employee and you've worked a previous emergency, and it doesn't matter if it's a typhoon or a pandemic or the COVID or the, an emergency is emergency. But if you worked an emergency prior to this, you got the double pay. And people aren't stupid. They know that going into this pandemic public health emergency that they're going to get the double pay. They're thinking in their mind, okay, I'm going to be getting the double pay. And then there's a bait and switch where it's like, no double pay. Instead, we're going to give this differential pay, which is 25%. Cue the ensuing public outcry and public outrage. And then all of a sudden, the governor does a complete 180 and goes from, we can't afford it. That's why we have the differential pay. That's why we have her answer was consistent. And then now she's done the 180. And now that it seems like, no brainer, of course, public employees who are frontline essential know they're supposed to be getting the double pay. So maybe giving it to them would probably be a good political move. Now it's like they saw the writing on the wall and they're like, okay, we're in line now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say.
I got you.
Session is scheduled for next week, Tuesday?
Yes, but there's these two bills, and I would really push for us to have a public hearing, so that we have people on record for these bills, because who knows, maybe the people are okay with 240 hours, compensatory time and half pay. It seemed like GSP was on board with it, and I was kind of confused how they reached that agreement without a consensus. I mean, they're a union, so maybe they can make those kinds of decisions. But, the reason why we went into emergency session so much is because we didn't have an avenue for public hearings. We didn't have a forum or a media because of the social distancing rule or because of the shelter in place. But now we do. So let's hear what the people think instead of trying to push bills, that are not in, that haven't been heard. And that was just a reason also for when we went into override Bill 333 is, it was an understanding that, now that we have an avenue forward to hear the people and hear their concerns, let's properly vet our bills now. There's no reason that we're going to push for emergency session to try to give people, and especially when there's two ideas, maybe we can merge these two ideas into one.
Wait,
and maybe that would satisfy the people.
Is this going to be an emergency session? It just says senators will be called into session.
We do have session next week, but I'm just caution. I just want to caution all of us ahead of time before it's even thought that we should go into emergency session over this and not hear the people's voice.
Are you hearing?
I'm just thinking that when you want to move something, in my short time here in office, when you want to move something, the quicker you act, the quicker you get it moved, and then, it's kind of like, oh, what just happened? It's almost
oh, what just happened? Festback. Okay.
So I'm just, I'm like, this is a lot of money. This concerns a lot of people who have risked their lives. So we need to really be cautious about how we move forward, or if not, we might not just be doing the right thing the right way. And so the right thing the right way would be us hearing both bills in a public setting so that it can be documented and recorded, and also help all of us in the legislature to be able to discern, what would be best for the people, and also the people's money, or the utilization of the CARES Act.
Well, Vice,
especially as we approach budget.
Right. We wanted to bring you on, and it's going to be a battle because obviously you've got Adelup and the Speaker in one corner with their bill that is being pushed by Adelup, and you can already assume that they're calling any senators down there, your colleagues.
Hey, but this is not just the Speaker's bill.
Right.
There's Will
There's a few,
Castro.
right?
There's Senator Mary Torres
yeah.
and Pito Terlahi.
So are you gonna make the call again to your colleagues, Vice, and say, hey, does anybody want to jump on my bill?
Well, usually we add the co-sponsorship on session floor, or we substitute the bill on the floor. I cannot withdraw the bill and add their names now.
I see.
Yeah. So I hope that, and it's important also for all of us to hear what the public feels so our colleagues can make an informed decision. My colleagues can make an informed decision. Even I can make an informed decision. We don't need emergency session for this.
Have you ran this by GFT?
I'm sorry?
Have you ran this by GFT yet?
Well, I was kind of surprised that GFT was at the press conference. And so, I'm going to reach out today and see what they think. And I did write a request to expedite the referral of Bill 357 and Bill 358 so that we can have a public hearing. I hope that we don't try to move any bills during session 4 without a public hearing, because now we have a forum for the people's voice to be heard. And if we go against, the foundation of this organization and this institution by trying to push things forward and ramrod it, now that we have a forum to hear the people's voice, we should move forward with the people's voice.
Okay.
We had those emergency sessions because we needed to find routes and avenues to help the people. And the emergency session, there was no forum for us to, a platform for us for the people's voice to be heard during the shelter in place.
Right.
But now that's over and done with.
Okay,
we
Vice.
should be having these hearings. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to all our frontliners.
Yeah, keep us posted on what happens, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vice?
All right.
Take care.
care.
God bless
Wash
you
your
guys.
hands.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Okay. 818, Vice Speaker Telena Nelson. Let's keep it on the phones. A few minutes.